Hey guys, so I wanted to take some time today to talk to you all about the special ed students that we have in our building, and specifically students that have autism spectrum disorder. And whether you've had a student with autism in your classroom before or not, you may or may not know that they learn a little bit differently than most other children. They tend to steer towards visual stimuli to be able to retain information and to be able to, move from activities throughout their day, or even, within a class period. And so I wanted to talk to you today about some of the strategies that we as teachers can use to help our students, specifically those with autism spectrum disorder, to help them do the best that they can with the capabilities that they do have. But you're probably sitting there thinking, it's super overwhelming to me to have to plan all these special activities and make all of these special accommodations for these students, and I don't know what to do, so I'm just not going to do anything. And unfortunately, you're not alone, and that's nothing to feel bad about. But I just want to let you guys know that this is actually easier than it seems. There's lots of research behind the techniques that we're going to talk about, and believe it or not, it's more often than not, it's stuff that you're already using in your classroom with your neurotypical kids. So just to kind of get started here, as you guys know, or maybe you don't know, students that have autism really like predictability, and they like to know what is happening next. And so one of the great resources that we can use with kids like that is visual activity schedules. And that can be something as simple as pictures on a piece of Velcro that they can, manipulate themselves. They can take it off when they're finished, and then at the end of the day, they can put everything back on there fresh and ready for the next day. And it just gives them that sense of organization in their mind to know that, okay, I'm done with this part, so now I can move on to this next part. And then they also are able to know what comes next. So, and honestly too, when autistic kids are able to know what is coming, what they've accomplished and what is coming next, their sense of anxiety can go down. A lot of times they're very tense and they don't like any kind of variance in the schedule. And so when they have this visual schedule to look at, it kind of just helps them kind of chill out a little bit so that they can focus more on their work and learning than just that unsure feeling of what's going to happen next. So, and like I said, these can be really easily made. This, can come from a file folder with some laminated pictures. Anything, you can construct it yourself. You can purchase it off Teachers Pay Teachers. Lots of different ways to come up with that with minimal work on your part. I know that we're all elementary here, but we do have some preschool students in the building, and you can even use visual supports with the preschool babies. They're not reading yet. They may be at the pre-primer level, may not, but they are able to look at pictures and environmental print all over the classroom, and those are even considered visual supports, which you probably are already doing for your typical students, but this is a huge help for the child that has ASD, because it shows them, things like how to put the baby to bed and how to, where the silverware goes in the kitchen and things like that. So, like I said, so far we've already talked about several things that you're already doing. So there's no really need to be intimidated by any of this, or even the idea of it, if even that stresses you out. The classroom teachers, we can even, things that you don't think about, when you're teaching science and social studies and math and reading, even things like graphic organizers that you would use anyway, are a huge help to students that have autism. They just need something to be able to fill out, and then they want to be able to look back at that later. So they want something that they can keep with them, almost like an anchor chart. And they can keep that in a folder or a binder or whatever it needs to be. Even like specifically math instruction, when you guys use manipulatives to teach place value, or you get out money to teach kids how to add up menu items, those are visual supports. They're also tactile, but they're able to see and feel, and it's just a great kind of concrete way to get that skill into their mind. Another thing that you may or may not already be doing, that again does not need to be intimidating, is peer teaching or reciprocal teaching. It's when you pair up a neurotypical developing student with a special needs student. And they really do learn a lot from each other. The ASD student is going to be able to learn from, the proper way to speak, the proper facial expressions, how to interact with others in the right way. And, at the same time, in all honesty, the typical student is going to learn from their peer. They're going to be able to kind of develop a sense of compassion and understanding, and just to be able to see that other people, there's people out there that are different than them, and just to kind of learn how to accept those differences and handle those differences and move on with life. So that to me is a really helpful one for a lot of people as far as character building and emotional development and behavioral support. During reading class, if you're doing things like story maps or concept maps or any kind of graphic organizer, or like I know we do the picture cards for the vocabulary, having that picture for the student to be able to see, they hear the word, they see the picture, they hear it in a sentence, they get to use it probably in a sentence. All of those things just really help to wrap that into a nice little package for them and keep it. And you would want to keep those pictures with the student, so in case they do forget, what the word means, they can look back and have that picture cue, which is really going to help them retain those terms better and help to grow their vocabulary. So, just to kind of wrap up, I know we've talked about a lot of different things, that you can do with your students to help them learn better. And you still might be feeling a little overwhelmed, but you don't need to be. And you need to understand that your special ed team is always going to be out there to help you and to support you and to work with you and not against you. It's just taking that step to actually implement the ideas that we have. If we sit back and do nothing, a lot of these kids are not going to learn to their full potential, and they're going to kind of slip through the cracks on us. And so, we just have to sometimes kind of think outside the box a little bit. And, but at the same time, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can just use the things that we've already got at hand and just change them up a little bit for those students that just need that little extra push or that visual, that little kick for the visual stimulation. So I hope this helped you guys, and I hope that you're able to utilize some of these strategies with your students, when they're in your classroom. And then also, when they go back to their special education classroom, hopefully those teachers are using these techniques as well to help our kiddos the best that we know how. So any questions, just get in touch with me, and I appreciate your time. Thanks so much.